Today's topic is entitled Delegate to Elevate Your Business. And that's a cute name that just basically encourages you to find ways to grow. So that's the seeds there. So let's dig in and think about how this could help, this concept can help us. So what I like to do before I get started with any kind of talk is learn a little bit about why you're here. And I know that you have already shared a little bit about yourself, but I'm going to call on the people that are attending today and just ask for you to very briefly share your company or what your company will be, Danielle, as you see it, and what motivated you to sign up, and what are you looking to take away? So if we can start with, I'll pick on Kirsten because I know she's got a business that she's been working with.
Oh, we have Robert. Hey everybody, I'm Kristen and I work at Launch Workplaces, and we're really happy to have you all here today. And I also run a small business on the side teaching different types of art classes and selling, like I have a little e-commerce store, so selling kits in my e-commerce store to complement those classes. And COVID, I saw a really great surge. And then competition got more intense because a lot of folks were doing similar things. And it was a lot to handle on my own. And I think delegating is a skill that I can always improve upon. So I'm very excited to learn more about that.
Excellent. Do you have something you want to walk out of here with?
I'm sorry, I forgot your name, Launch Workplace. Is that more into a design kind of work? I'm sorry, I did not get it. I wasn't mute.
Oh yeah, I guess it's a creative experience kind of work. Like Airbnb experiences is one avenue. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm Kristen. I'll update my name on Zoom too.
Sure. Because I wasn't with my office pings and I'm joining this meeting also.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. And Danielle, what will your company look like, motivation, and any takeaway?
Well, it will be food distribution. I mean, even in my personal life, just in general, I think I have a problem with delegation. Just people to handle things, and sometimes you feel they won't do it the way you really want them to do it. But even before I start, I know that's something I have to work on, and that's why I got connected today. Like I haven't started yet, but I know this is something I have to work on. I have to get it right, because even with COVID and you go to grocery stores, there's not enough food and stuff. So I'm gonna need help, and I'm gonna have to work with different people. So I need to know how to delegate, and that's why I'm here today.
Great. Karthik, could you just give us a couple thoughts on your company, motivation for showing up, and a takeaway?
Yeah, motivation would be certainly on the business perspective would be more on getting into more profitables, and getting a lot of work and projects to progress. Go ahead, considering with the toughest competition right now across the globe. That's my motivation. Okay.
Great. So I know a couple of you are joining us a little late, and you can put it in the chat. I'll keep going just to be in the interest of time, but I think it's important, whenever we choose to sign up for something, to think about, why we're here, so you get the most out of it. So if you want to, the folks that just joined us, throw in the chat your company. You never know, there might be some referrals or something between us, and your motivation for showing up, and what you're looking to get out of today. So that's always helpful. So yes, Yulia, you raised your hand. Did you have a question? Yulia? I don't, okay. So if just, I guess I'll say now with the folks that are here, if you have something you want to add, first of all, it's a small group, so feel free to chime in with your question that you might have. You can interrupt me. I'm very comfortable with that. Or put something in the chat, and Kristen will help with making sure she interjects if a question comes up. And just in general, I do have planned content, but it's important that it be meaningful to whoever's here. So who am I? That might be the next question that people want to get answers to. So it's a funny thing when we do our slides for, at least it's funny to me, when we do our slides, our professional slides about who we are, usually they're all these things that we do on a, professional basis. So I've got a little bit of who I am from a business perspective, that then a few shots of like other parts of my life. So being a goofy golfer, and I do enjoy skiing, and my family's over there throwing me some love, support there. I've been working with businesses for probably literally hundreds of businesses over the years. I'm a fractional CFO. I have a business that supports growing businesses. So this topic comes up a lot when we're working with businesses. So it was a great topic to go over with you. And as it says, I'm a business owner, just like each of you. I am a CPA, among other skills, but that one, I guess people are most familiar with. And I regularly speak for the American Institute of CPAs, as well as for some other organizations. And I threw in some other slices of life. I definitely have a philosophy, as I say here, of yes and try to really embrace that concept. And just in case there's a trivia test later, that's my favorite cocktail. So this is a quote from John Maxwell, and it's just kind of encouraging you to think about, like, really, your business, and driving towards delegation is essential for professional growth. And Danielle brought up, it can really be a big help on the personal front. But this particular webinar is very much focused on the business side of delegation. So I don't know if I agree with this quote entirely, but it's thought-provoking, and you can tell me if it, I think that in fact, actually, Danielle might have even touched on this concept of delegation at times, making one feel a little insecure in both in terms of the quality of the work that somebody else might be doing, but also maybe this person will be displacing me. So all kinds of thoughts, but I'll let you noodle that one around. So when you think about a business, at least from my experience, if I want to bake it into a few key ingredients in terms of growing your business, you're either working towards building demand or building capacity to meet that demand, right? If you have a lot of capacity and you don't have sufficient demand, then you might need to be working on the first bullet, building demand. I think a lot of businesses that I work with end up more needing to build capacity to meet the demand. So how about the people on this call? Where would you put yourself? Are you more struggling with building demand or building capacity? And you can throw it in the chat if you like. So, and if you have a question, just let me know. So, so delegation can address both, both kind of ingredients, so to speak. The building demand. As I said, I focus on. We are a fractional CFO and accounting department solution. And when businesses come to me and they say they have low demand, I recommend that they first reach out to some other service providers, because we're not as skilled and capable of solving for the demand problem. So if you want to focus on these ingredients for growing your business, and before we keep on going, I just want to make sure that everybody is on board for growing. If you want to put a thumbs up or something in your reactions. Is there anybody on the call that's really not interested in growing? I see a thumbs up. Everybody know how to use your reactions to raise your hand or give me a thumbs up if you're up for growing. Robert gave me a thumbs up. I got another one. Great. I'm really focused on this whole presentation today is all about growth mindset. So, once in a while I do speak to business owners that really do suggest that they don't really have a strong desire to grow, which is totally, their prerogative. But that's not an area that I'm is able to help with. So thinking about these ingredients and thinking about building our demand and building capacity, and just okay, where do we start, right? What do we do now? So I think that I wrote here that we want to build with the middle in mind. And I know a lot of times it's build with the end in mind, but I do think that really you want to picture what it's going to be like for you in your business when you're at your growth trajectory that makes you, feel satisfied with the work you're doing. So, where do you want to go with your business? And do you want it to be a lifestyle business? I mean, Danielle, are you picturing this business, the food business that you're considering being something that one would be thinking of more as a lifestyle business to fit in with your personal life? Or are you thinking of it more as, something that you want some moderate or high growth? So I'll pause a minute. Danielle, I want to see what you think.
Lifestyle.
That's really important to understand that. So Karthik, what about you?
Yeah, I would. It's a second one. It's important to know where I want to go.
Okay. So when you think about your business, are you striving towards like a moderate or high growth, and does everyone understand what I'm saying when I say a lifestyle business versus one that is moderate or high growth?
It's I would say it's moderate for now, but eventually it has to be high growth. But I don't want to stick into this one of business. I would like or want myself to leverage into or have a different segments within the business. I mean, doesn't mean 90% to do an IT business as well. I can also get into a real estate. I'm just plotting some real estate with collaboration with some other team, or get into a food industry, or get into any other industries, whatever it is. Just having a partnership or joining hands with someone else. That's
Okay.
yeah.
So what I'm hearing from you is that you're excited about um, having your own business that you can call your own, and you're currently tell me if I understood you correctly. Currently, you're working in the IT industry, and that's a skill set, but it may not be where you end up.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I saw
I would like
Robert.
to see a different flavors, I try something new. I know, I understand it's nothing, everything gets succeeded, but keep trying something unless
Yeah. Okay. That's really
it's not
neat.
about throwing the basket everywhere, but whatever it could be. For
Right.
instance, I had a guy in my organization. He was very good in sales. It which means he was not with IT background. He was doing sales from some other background, but we tried to pull him in IT, and which eventually he got proved by himself and he helped in getting more businesses. He was pretty good in business development. So that's what.
Yeah. And seeing those, I'm going to pick on that for a minute, because seeing like what others are good at, and what, how that could complement the work you're doing, is a really great superpower to embrace. So I love that you were, thinking about that. So I think, ultimately, as you think about where you want to end up, with the middle in mind, that's really going to guide you. I have worked with some businesses, and in fact, recently I was working with somebody who just loves food, loves serving food to others, wanted to have her own restaurant, and she has her own restaurant now. And it's really that, that part of it, she's really achieved something, but she does not like, it's challenging for her to manage people. And managing people, it turns out, is a really important part of, in particular, food service and restaurants. So I think she didn't really realize what she was getting into in terms of, that the type of work that she's doing. And the last bullet is really important. Thinking about what the type of business will ultimately feel most rewarding to you. Because at times something can be great for somebody else and completely unrewarding for you. So I thought I'd share what motivated me to build my team. I have about 20 people that work for me. I would say, I just kind of coming back to the last slide, I've always strived for moderate growth as opposed to high growth. I wanted to do other things in my life. I didn't want it to always be focusing on the having work swallow me whole. That doesn't always work out that way, but I was very intentional in not striving for high growth. And I absolutely knew that I was not building a lifestyle business where it's my lifestyle takes more of a priority than the business itself overall. So my business is very much a priority, and I've made commitments to businesses, so I definitely need to honor them. So what were some of the things that made a difference for me? The first one is really recognizing what I know, knowing about my own skills and experience. What do I bring to the table? I'm a CPA. I know how to be a CFO for a business. I know about all the stuff that accountants know about. I know that. So that's good. And then I needed to really focus on things that I don't know. Well, I'm not a lawyer, and I am definitely not a marketing pro. I know enough IT to be dangerous. I'll just say that, but I definitely there's a line there. And then, moving into the next box underneath my what I know, what recognizing other skills and experience, just like we were talking about a few moments ago, where one of the attendees is talking about this one guy is really great at sales. So when I am looking for new additions to the team, or even within my team, I'm always kind of on the lookout for what are their skills, what are their superpowers, how, what's rewarding to them. So that came into play for me too. So for example, I recognized that I did need IT assistance. I did need marketing assistance to do the things I wanted to do. So, and I saw those skills in other people. And then the, potential impediments to growth was big for me. So really strong demand for the work that we do, very, very strong, and just not enough hours in the day. So I knew that if I wanted to grow, I had to build a team. So these little blocks here essentially is like an informalized SWOT analysis, if any of you have heard of that term, where I'm talking about strengths, weaknesses, obstacles, and threats. So that's something that helped me, and I'm hoping by sharing it with you, it would be helpful to you as well. What are some of the things that you should look for when it's time to build a team? So I've come up with a list here. And again, you can refer back to my experience, which is a very common experience, actually. And, think about what signs to look for. And this is a question I get asked a lot, like when I'm talking with either clients or potential clients or even colleagues. When should I delegate? Maybe there's a time when I should not. And at times, if you don't have a strong demand for your services and you can't afford a marketing or sales assistant to help you, then you might need to explore some other things that we're not really addressing in this presentation today. But in my mind, what I do hear a lot is I've got so much demand for what we're doing. That's a great sign. If you've got a lot of demand, why not share the work? Another sign to look for is that you can think of specific roles and tasks to delegate. And then where are your weaknesses? Where do you lack the strength in a functional area of marketing or sales or, finance, like the people that hire us. So those are just a few signs. So when you look at this chart, I'm going to ask you to take another Zoom tool. Some of you, you've used the reactions. I'm going to ask you to try to find the tool Annotate. Excellent. So I want you to draw on my screen and see if there's some words here that really speak to you in terms of how you're feeling, or how you look at the, either the work you're doing or the, the delegation task. Burnout. I got prioritization. Nice. I like the circles. Anybody else? I was telling Kirsten, I like this annotate feature. I learned about it from one of my friend's daughters who's a teacher, and during COVID, kids started drawing on her screen and she didn't know what was going on. But I think it's a fun way to, connect with you guys and get a sense of how you're reacting to the different slides. So anyone else want to join in on any words that resonate with you? You can also just say something in the chat or, unmute yourself. I saw missed opportunities. That's, that is definitely an organization. Danielle, you're in there. All right, good job. Okay, good. All right, so very common.
The missed opportunities is the word which I can't forget at all, because we miss opportunities when we are doing a bidding or something because of the high competition. That applies for every industry, not only for IT, every industry.
Yep.
Sometimes we realize we could have got this opportunity and we go back and check why did we miss this?
Yes.
It could be because of dollar value, or it could be because of resources. It could be because of certain other factors, but sometimes it is unknown as well. We could not. Yeah.
And sometimes you think it's a missed opportunity. I mean, just to kind of build on what you're saying, we just had a client, a prospect that we provided a proposal and they didn't choose us, which we usually have a pretty high success rate, but they didn't choose us because we weren't going to be moving fast enough. And I looked at the situation and just gave them an honest, appraisal of how long things would need to take. And so I felt good about that. But believe me, I've had some missed opportunities, and I think, that you, Karthik, you nailed it. Really, I think it's fair to say that's one of the greatest risks of not developing your delegation skills. So, basically the last screen is like encouragement that, you don't want to continue to do something that causes such a great deal of stress. So what I like to, encourage everybody, and Danielle, I know you were saying that people might not do things correctly, which is a big risk when you do, take it from, do it yourself to finding the right people in the right seats. This is a term I have here at the top. And I just was like sharing kind of a mindset to think about that you might not, it's a journey, and you might not necessarily get it right from day one, where it's, first you're doing it all yourself, and then you decide you're gonna, you're finally gonna delegate. Well, you delegate to your best friend, and you realize you delegate to your best friend to do something that you're the best at, just to, as an exaggeration. That would be the wrong people and the wrong quote seats that we've delegated. And then maybe next in your journey, you find the right person and you end up giving them the wrong thing to do. And that ultimately doesn't, achieve necessarily what you are aiming for. And so it's not perfect. It doesn't go, exactly the way you want it to. Then you might find the right seats, but the wrong people. So, you're getting there. This, in my mind, finding like the different positions that you want to fill and tasks is a great, step forward in the journey. And then here we are. We've got the right seats. We've got the right people. But things are broken because nobody knows exactly what to do, because the processes are unclear. And then maybe we're getting to the straightaway, the easy part of the ride, because we've got the right seats, the right people. For now, I say, because then you hit your next growth trajectory, and you need to revisit, and you're kind of back to the beginning, so to speak. So I just, the road traveled is not so smooth and straight line. All right, we're back to annotate. Show me with a little drawing, if you could, where you see yourself. Are you doing it all yourself? Did you start to assemble a team? Are you developing lists of how things could be played out? Are you, you've got a couple teams and you're making some progress. So I'm gonna go ahead and annotate. Oh, goes, there's my check mark there. So we've got a lot of doing it yourself. Okay, so everybody, you can, I'm hoping you'll be inspired to think about what you can delegate. So it's good. It's always good to know where you are in the journey. And Robert is writing. He's in between. I like it. I like it. So you're starting to assemble a team. That's great. And you get bonus points for attempting to draw with this thing. I love it. You know, with a lot of strategic planning or revisiting where you want to go, you always want to know where you are at this point in time. So it's not hard, I know, but just important. So, okay, so everybody is pretty much, for the most part, we're all in doing it all ourselves, and Robert is starting to assemble a team. So you want to, when you're getting ready to delegate, you want to set some clear goals, and you definitely want to start to think about what resources you could leverage. Robert, what type of resources are you leveraging to build your team? Are you able to unmute yourself?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, so I hire I outsource research reports to, what I call 1099 people who and that's the model I'm using. I'm not sure it's the right model or the best model. I have a hard time finding those people, but I'm trying to avoid hiring staff, as it were. So I'm looking for alternative models to just hiring people.
Yeah. Okay.
Contract work instead.
All right. Well, I'm going to touch on that at one point before we break, because there's some thoughts there. So so Robert has identified some resources, not always 100% of the time, but he knows he can. He's had some success in getting some contractors to help him. And the last thing in the delegation game is really being prepared when you decide to build a team or hire one additional teammate, that you're going to support that somehow. It's really pointless. And I've actually made this mistake myself, where I've hired somebody and then I didn't devote enough resources of my time to make sure I can answer a question or lay out the instructions in a clear way. So it's not just an investment in money, it's an investment in time that can pay off. So I do think that I'm a big fan of teamwork. And I guess, I don't know if I said this, I don't think I did address this. The other motivation for me personally, and this is definitely a personal thing, is I just prefer to work with teams. I'm comfortable, working through a project independently, but I much prefer it to be working with a team. And I do have, everybody that works for me is technically, legally an employee, but I rarely use that word because I much prefer they are my teammates, and that's how we function together. So that's up to you guys. I know I've worked with some people that just much prefer, it's less stressful for them. So, it's not a one size fits all here. The other thing I just want to mention that I don't know how effectively this slide covers it, but there's one thing is delegating, like in a classic sense, where you hired somebody and you're gonna provide them with instructions, and then you're going to ultimately guide them to show them how things should be done. And there's another thing, well, I'm delegating, and you just dump work on people, and then they don't do it right, and you're frustrated and they're frustrated, and you're like, you see, you can't delegate anything. So those are two. There's delegation, and there's what I'm saying, dumping and running. So that's, we're not talking about dumping and running. That's just gonna lead to a failure. And I would encourage you to invest the time if it's important to you. So, here's a couple steps that I think you can take away and think about for this process. Think about, just start with something like, what are some of the tasks that you could delegate? Identify a few tasks, identify a list of them. We use Asana at KBS CFO, which is a workflow system. There's there's a large number of these types of systems, but I have a tag in there for, identifying when I have a task that I want to delegate to an administrative person, as an example, instead of me doing it. So think of a way to identify those tasks, and then assess, the skills. Think about who's the best suited. It's really common that people assign skills or tasks to the wrong people, and then there's frustration on both ends. And then huge, set expectations for yourself and for the people that you're working for that are realistic. And I like it. You can draw on my screen, go for it. And the setting expectations is, I guess, really something that it's a very important core value to me. And then keep checking in with people, not dumping and running, but recognizing that everybody is not going to do things just the way you did. They're not going to do it as fast necessarily. They're not going to necessarily do it with the same style or the same standard procedures. They cannot read your mind. That's not something we can do right now. So monitor the progress. And then as part of that, again, step 5 is to provide feedback. If you embrace these steps, you might actually find some success with the delegation. If you leave one of these steps out, it's possible that you won't be able to get there. You can do it, though, I can guarantee it. So, but you just want to be attuned and allow for some mistakes to happen. Some people assign, functions like we were talking about earlier. Assign responsibilities by function. We hired a marketing firm to help us because, again, I recognized that was a weakness. And then we are hired as the CFO and accounting department. So sometimes that's how you think of it. Thinking about time management is really important part of the whole thing. What if you devote the right amount of time to this? Are you going to be, getting ahead? And also, what I'm trying to get to here is, when you delegate tasks, you want to make sure that you've set into your timeline and their timeline. How long is something going to take? When should you be checking in with each other? All those things require time management. So, and if you're striving to be a real leader and you kind of enjoy that part of having your own business, then it's really important to, develop those leadership skills, which includes being comfortable with delegating and letting go a little bit, and sometimes letting go and delegating will ultimately result in you having greater control than if you continue to do everything yourself. When I say delegating, the obvious thing that comes to all of our minds, I think, and you can, disagree with me, but I believe it's like, I'm going to delegate to a person. Well, sometimes, most of the time that's going to be true. But at the beginning of the session, we were talking a little bit about ChatGPT, which is really influencing a lot of thoughts in the knowledge worker realm. But automation and using technology, delegating to those resources is certainly a valid way to think about delegation. And I'm a big fan of like not just thinking about people, but whether I should be automating something, leveraging a particular technology, or a combination. All right, so I think we're pretty much at the end here. So, do we have any questions, comments? We've got just a couple more minutes.
So I was just curious, when you say, you assembled a team of 20, you keep referring to, I don't know if that's synonymous with hiring or.
Yep. They're hired, their team, their employees.
So can you recommend any resources for looking for alternative models?
Well, this is a philosophical thing, philosophical viewpoint from my perspective, Robert. If you are building a team for long-term growth, and this is just one person's, one business person's, perspective, and you want longevity, and you want branding, and you want ownership, I'm a believer that the key is to hire people as employees. It depends on your business model too. Certainly there's plenty of businesses that are using Upwork and Elance and working with fractional solutions for different functional areas. What was your business?
I do advisory work. I have international clients, and I write reports and I prepare analyses.
Oh, I'm sorry. And you did say that. I apologize. So yes. So, I guess there's certainly there's a breadth of resources on the freelance side. And like I said, Elance, Upwork, and are two that I'm familiar with, and there's others that are just not coming to my mind right now, but there's a lot of the contractors. It can leave you vulnerable if you're getting good sized contracts to just be only working with contractors. And I don't think I know some people just want to avoid the bureaucracy of employment, and that's fine, but it doesn't have to be so hard, I guess I'll just say. That's up to you though. And again, there's plenty of business. I worked with one e-commerce business that was quite successful, and they accumulated a fairly good sized group of dedicated contractors. It partly had to do with the personality of the owner and people just wanting to work for her. So any other questions? Any takeaways from anybody you want to share in the chat before we wrap up for today?
Nothing as special, but it was a good informative session, and thanks Launch Workspace for facilitating this. I know. I would like to know about everybody. If there's also, it could be something, if each one of us can partner and do some business together. That's all. Trying to associate each other. But it was a good business meet, kind of. Thanks KBS and Launchwork. It was informative session.
Good. Well, thank you. And I do want to encourage you, if you took an hour to sit and listen to this, take just 5 minutes before you go back to email, and just think about what your next step would be related to this, to, your motivation and takeaway from here. Is it to just decide that you're good and you don't need to delegate, or is it to evaluate some steps? Is it to write out some processes? Is it to, maybe network somebody? Just take a couple of minutes. You've earned it, to think about that, and make this investment in time even better.